Welcome to Michael's Kids Club Camp Creatology. Today we will create 2 different animal masks. Join us for all 10 days of making. Enjoy!
Hi everyone, my name's Megan and today we're going to make some masks in our Camp Creatology class. We have a lion mask and we have a bird mask. So you can make either one of these masks, and in order to get started, you're going to want a paper mask. If you want to make the lion, you should go ahead and get the lion mask. But if you want to make a bird, guess what? We're going to use a unicorn mask. So we actually use the unicorn mask in order to make this bird. So if you want to make a bird, you can get your unicorn mask, or if you want to make a lion, you can get the lion mask. For both of these masks, you're going to want to have some acrylic paint, and every time you're using paint, you're probably going to need some paint brushes, maybe a little cup of water and a napkin or a paper towel would be nice to have nearby. You're also going to want a ruler, a pencil, some glue, and some scissors for both of your masks. If you decide to make the bird mask, notice how the bird has all these beautiful feathers. So if you're making a bird, you're going to want to find some beautiful feathers. You also might want some cardstock. This is some orange cardstock down here that makes the little beak. And see these cute little cheeks? We're going to cut those cute little cheeks out of some sticky back foam. So we're going to use paint, we're going to use feathers, we're going to use cardstock in order to make the bird. And on the lion, you might notice the beautiful mane on our lion is actually made out of felt. So if you have some blue felt, you can make the lion's mane. If you don't have blue felt, or if felt is a little bit tricky for you to cut, you can always use some sticky back foam or some regular foam instead of using felt. So those are all the materials that we're going to need in order to make our mask, and we're going to get started with our friend the lion. I'm going to go ahead and open up my mask, and I'm going to get started right away by doing a little bit of painting. This little plastic piece is going to be what we use in order to make the mask. So you can put the plastic piece on right now. I'm going to put the metal part through the little hole. I'm going to poke it through, and I'm going to put the other metal part through the little hole and poke it through. Now, if this gets in your way, especially when you're painting, you can take it off and you can put it back on at the end, but I just wanted to go ahead and put it on right now. So I'm going to paint the lion's face, and I'm going to look at my different acrylic paints and I'm going to decide what color. Now I use like a teal color, but you don't have to use the same colors I do. And don't think that your lion has to be any specific colors. If you want your lion to be purple, or if you want your lion to be green, you should make it that way. I'm going to use the teal, and I'm going to go ahead and open up my paint. And if you've never used the paint before, there might be a little seal over top of it, but I've been using this paint for a little bit, so I don't have a seal on mine. I'm going to go ahead and dip my paintbrush into this teal paint, and I'm going to paint all over this beautiful face. And I'm going to paint all of these parts. I'm going to paint the nose black like I did in my example over here. And you can also paint the mane the dark blue if you want to, in case some of the felt shows some of the spaces in between. You can paint that part bright blue. I'm painting over the whiskers right now, but if you want to leave those whiskers white, you can do that. So I'm using one of the bigger brushes in my pack so that I can make really long, big strokes and cover lots of area with my acrylic paint. And I am going to color the inside of the ear with my teal. It's kind of fun digging in there. I'm going to dig in this side of the ear. Boop. It's kind of like scratching your dog's ear, huh? And then I'm going to paint this other side with the same teal paint. And if you want to use the same paintbrush when we switch colors, then you should have a little cup of water, and you can dip your paintbrush into the cup of water, and you can rinse off the old color and start painting with the new color. Or you can switch brushes, and then at the very end of crafting, you can wash all your brushes at the same time. So that part's completely up to you. And I'm gonna kind of hold this and fold it around, make sure that I got all the spots. Sometimes when you're holding it on the table, you might not see some of the spots that you missed until you kind of hold it up in a different direction. So after I finish painting this little part, I'm gonna see if I missed any spots. Oh, did you see I missed that whole spot? And I wanna tilt it up so that I can get all that part down towards the mane too. So I'm gonna hold it a little bit more like this and paint some of those white spaces in. There we go. And acrylic paint usually dries pretty fast. So it's definitely not dry yet, but it's not gonna take very long in order for this layer to be dry. And then if we wanna make some spots on our lion, we can do that with some white paint a little bit later on. Awesome. Okay, I think I got all the spots this time. So now I'm gonna switch colors. If you have a cup of water, you can switch colors using water. I'm gonna use a different brush, and this time I'm going to open up my dark blue. So you don't have to use the same dark blue that I'm gonna use. You can use whichever dark blue you want to, or you can use red, or you can use green or yellow, but this is the blue that I'm gonna use. I think that whatever color you decide to paint right here, make sure that you have that same color felt or that same color in foam so that you can make the lion's mane using that same color. So if you choose a different color besides blue, you might want some of your felt or foam to match the color you pick. Now here's the little metal piece that I already poked through. So I can be really careful and not paint it, or you can be like me and just paint over top of it. Now it's blue. You won't even notice that it's metal. But I might twist it around a little bit to make sure I don't leave any white spots underneath. Now I'm working with some paper underneath because if I get a little bit messy and go off the edges a little bit, I'm glad that I have a piece of paper under this so that I'm not gonna mess up my table. So you can use a paper towel, you can use a scrap piece of paper. There's lots of ways to kind of protect your surface while you're painting. Also, this acrylic paint does dry fast, and you need to be careful because if you get it on your clothes, it's really hard to get off. So try and keep the paint on the mask. And if you do get paint anywhere else, make sure that you tell a grown-up right away so they can help you. So I'm painting all of these parts, and eventually this is where the rest of the mane is going to go. And you might have noticed that I flipped around my mask so that I can see what I'm doing a little bit better. Make sure I'm not missing any spots. Although most of this right now is gonna get covered up when we add our mane. But I am gonna paint the ear. So we already have the inside, that cute teal color. And then I'm gonna paint around the ear with the darker blue color. And I'm gonna flip this around again too. Make sure that I find all the spots that need paint still. There we go. And I have a little bit more painting to do on this side. Now I want you to take your time with painting. So if I'm going too fast, feel free to stop the video and catch up, and then you can press play again. Or feel free to take a break and come back to the video to finish up. That's looking pretty good. All right, I am gonna go ahead and put some blue underneath the eyes right here. So I'm gonna do a line of dark blue right here on the bit that's raised up from the mask. And I'm gonna do a line of blue over here. I'm going to flip it this way so that I get in towards the eyes. That looks pretty good. Nice. All right. I'm going to go ahead and put my paintbrush to the side or put it into your water cup. And I'm going to close this blue up. And then I am going to go ahead and make a black nose. I am going to do some white spots. And I might even add my whiskers now. So I'm going to get my white paintbrush, my white paint, and my black paint. And first I'm going to go ahead and paint the nose black. So if you haven't used your paint before, there is a little seal that you need to peel off. And then I have this great black acrylic paint. So I can go ahead and cover that nose with the black. Make sure you tilt up your mask so you can see all the spots that you need to cover. This is already looking like a really cool safari lion. A little bit more black around here. And there we go. So I've painted the nose black. I'm going to cover that up. And then I'm going to go back with my white paint. And you can use the bottom of your paintbrush, or you can use a smaller white paintbrush in order to make some dots. So I'm going to make some white dots along the lion's nose by dotting. And I'm kind of alternating back and forth. Maybe one of them's a little higher than the other one so that they're not exactly even going across. And then this one's a little higher than that one. And this one's a little higher. And so on. Now I'm going to add some extra dots up here because there's even more space up here. And I'm going to tilt my mask towards you. And I'm going to put a couple more dots up here. Maybe one close to here and one close to here. And maybe a couple more dots right by the eyes. 1, 2, 3. And over here, I'm going to do the same thing. 1, 2, 3. If you want to, you can paint the whiskers white, but we're going to put a CHNLL stem over top of that, so you don't need to paint that white if you don't want to. So with our CHNLL stem, or some people call them pipe cleaners, I have 2 white CHNLL stems. And we're going to cut these to be about 3 inches long. So if you're not sure how many inches 3 inches will be, you can take out your ruler. And when I measure my ruler, I start at the 0 and I go up to the number 3, and then I'm going to cut. And now that I know that this is how long 3 inches is going to be, I can make 6 of these pieces to make our whiskers. I'll put 3 on each side of the nose. So I'll have 3 on one side and 3 on another side. Look at that, that's pretty perfect. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just one more. There we go. Now to lay these whiskers down, I'm gonna lay them on top of the lines that are already on my mask. So I'm gonna take some glue and I'm gonna put some glue right across each one of these 3 lines. I'm going to do the same thing over here, and I'm going to try and make them look like mirror images of each other, which is called symmetric. So I'm going to try and make them look the same on both sides, which means I'm going to try and make them look symmetric. Now when they dry, they'll be fine, but they're definitely going to wiggle around for a minute right here because they're not ready to be dry yet. So we'll just keep putting them in the right place. And if they keep sliding down, we'll find a way to get them, don't worry. And then we'll want to put this off to the side so that this glue has a chance to stick to your CHNLL stems, and your CHNLL stems have a chance to stick to the mask. So there we go. You can put this off to the side and let all of those whiskers dry. While our whiskers are drying, I'm going to put my paint off to the side and I'm going to pull out some blue felt. So we're going to use this blue felt in order to make the mane that goes all around our lion's face. So my lion's drying up here, and what I'm going to do in order to make these strips that turn into the hair that go around the lion is I'm going to cut some strips out of this blue felt. Now, if felt is too hard for you to cut, remember that you can always use foam too, and either one is going to look really cool on your mask. So I'm going to measure 3 inches. So here's my 0, 1, 2, 3, and then right along this line is about 3 inches. So I can kind of lay my ruler down and kind of guess. If you want to draw a little line with a marker, you can do that too. Or if you have a pen or something, you can draw your 3 inches going across. It doesn't have to be perfect because the mane doesn't have to all be exactly 3 inches, but then I'm going to go through and I'm going to cut along, and we're going to cut lots and lots of pieces so we have plenty of hair to go around our lion. Now, you can decide how wide you want each of your pieces to be. If you want to do a little bit more measuring, if that's fun for you, you can go to the 0. In between the 0 and the 1 is 1/2 of an inch. So you can go at 1/2 of an inch, and then you can cut a straight line going up and make it 1/2 of an inch wide by 3 inches long. Now, if you don't want to measure, you can kind of just keep comparing them with your eyeballs and make them about the same size. If you want them to be super precise, you can measure them every single time. But I'm going to cut a bunch of these rectangles that are each going to be pretty close to 1/2 of an inch by 3 inches long. And if you want the hair on your mane to be even longer or different colors, you can cut lots of these rectangle strips, and you can make the strips longer than 3 inches, or you can make the strips shorter than 3 inches. And maybe you want your lion to have a wild and crazy haircut where some of the hair is long and some of the hair is short, and you can definitely do that too. So I'm almost done cutting up a whole bunch of these strips, and I'm not cutting them perfectly 1/2 of an inch wide, but I think I'm doing a pretty good job of keeping them about the same. And I'm going to cut up this whole strip, and hopefully that will be enough pieces for me to go all the way around my lion mask. Oh, perfect. I got 2 pieces left. There we go. Now that all of my mane, those rectangles are cut, and my lion mask is doing a good job of drying, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start gluing these down. So I'm going to start at the top of the head, and I'm going to use my glue, and I'm going to put some glue right in here, making a little bit of a scribble pattern, and I'm just going to fill in between the 2 ears with my pieces of felt. And we paint it underneath this part dark blue, so even if you see in between my pieces of felt, it's still going to look really cool. So I put a couple of pieces up top. I'm going to skip over where the ear is, and then I'm hoping that these are dry, and you might need to bend them up a little bit so that you can get some glue underneath the whiskers. And if your whiskers aren't dry, or if your whiskers are starting to fall off, then you can go back and you can put a little bit more glue on when we're done, and you can let them dry one more time, and I bet this time you're going to get them. So if you haven't already put your elastic through your mask, You might want to do that now before the hole gets covered up by some felt. So you can just stick that through with the metal piece through that hole, and then you'll have a perfect little elastic band. There we go. Oh, gonna need a little bit more glue on that whisker. And then here. And then let me go over to the other side. See how many I need over here. I'm gonna raise my whiskers up a little bit. Try not to bring them off my mask. Put a little bit of glue. There we go. And then I'm gonna put some more pieces of the mane right here. I'm covering up this spot again, so I hope that you already put the elastic in your mask. Otherwise, you might need to cut a hole or make sure that your rectangles have a little bit of room in between them so that you can wiggle in between there. And now, if you haven't already put your whiskers on, or if your whiskers are starting to fall off a little bit, this is a good time for a finishing touch. A little bit of glue here and a little bit of glue here. And we're gonna get them on this time. And I'm definitely not gonna touch it for a little bit or put it on my face quite yet, because I wanna give it plenty of time for that glue to grab onto those whiskers and to hold them onto the mask. But we're done with our lion. So I hope that you enjoyed making this lion mask. And if you're interested in making the bird, stick around and we'll make that one next. Next up, we have our bird mask. So remember, I told you we're gonna take the unicorn mask and we're gonna turn this unicorn into a bird. So you can make your bird yellow, like the one that I have here, or you can paint your bird and make it whatever color you want to. Also, don't forget about this little elastic piece. Put it off to the side so that you don't lose it while we're working. And we'll put that in at the end because there's nothing to cover up the holes this time, so it's okay to put the elastic on at the very end. Now, while we were talking, I'm thinking about what color I want to color my bird, and I've decided I'm going to paint this bright green. So I'm going to take my bright green acrylic paint, and I'm going to go ahead and paint over the entire mask. So I've never used this green. Oh, this is exciting. So I'm going to peel off this paper, and I'm going to throw this away, and be careful so it doesn't get on anything. And then I'm going to go ahead and use one of my big brushes again, and I'm going to brush this beautiful green all over this unicorn mask. So it might be a unicorn now, but it's not going to be a unicorn for long. So feel free to paint all over the nose, and even paint over this hair, paint over the horn, paint over the ears. Just go ahead and paint whatever color you want to paint all over your entire mask. A lot of the bird mask is going to be covered up using feathers. So we're just putting down a base color right now so that all of our feathers can have a pretty color to pop off of. So remember how we did with our lion mask. I'm going to kind of hold up my mask a couple different ways so that I make sure I'm not leaving any white spots. And I can go over this spot over here. I don't have my elastic in yet, so that's okay. And I'm going to smooth out some of my brush strokes so that it doesn't look too clumpy. So notice how I'm taking my paintbrush and going in the same direction. That's going to make all my brush strokes nice and even and keep it from looking too sloppy. Feel free to use more than one color. If you want to use a couple different colors, if your bird is maybe a color changing bird, you can do that too. You might have noticed I got a little bit of green on my table, so I'm glad that I'm working over a piece of paper again so that I'm not making a big mess. Keep a paper towel handy just in case. And if the paint goes somewhere that you think it shouldn't go, make sure that you tell a grown-up. But have fun painting all of this green, or whatever color you've chosen, all over your mask. And I definitely missed the side of the ears the first time I went. So now I'm painting all of those. And I'm getting in all the grooves of this really swoopy hairstyle. And all of these pieces of hair and this horn that's up here at the top of the unicorn are all going to be great places for us to stick feathers and turn this unicorn into a bird. So I'm going to paint the horn. There's a lot of little spaces to get in between, so I'm going to take my brush and go a couple different directions. And then at the end, I might put all my brush strokes again in the same direction after I get into all those little corners. There we go. Perfect. And a couple long strokes in one direction to make it look nice and clean. And I'm going to paint this side of the face. And at some point I'll pick it up again to make sure that I'm not missing anything, because from where I'm looking, it looks like everything's green, but I might have a white spot. So I'll double check. There's some cute little eyelashes on this unicorn. And if we want to, later on, we can paint over top of those and let our bird have some eyelashes too. Why not? So on the bird you see in the example, we have some different spots. So since I'm using green, my spots might look a little different than the yellow one. So feel free to pick out whatever color spots you think you want your bird to have. Just some little extra decoration on the bird mask. And I'm just about done with my green. Let's see how I'm doing. There we go. I'm gonna hold it up and check it out. Oops, I see some spots down here. Right at the bottom of my mask, I'm gonna make sure that I get all of that to be green. Let's see if there's anything else I can see. I'm gonna put all these brush strokes going long ways up and down. Looking good. Oh, I can see a white spot right there. And right here. All right. I think that just about does it. There's a little piece of white hiding in here. So hopefully you got all of that spot cleaned up too. If you need more time, go ahead and pause the video. Take your time with your painting and make your beautiful bird face. While my bird mask is drying, I'm going to put another piece of scrap paper over top of my table because I'm starting to get some paint and I don't want that to mess up the next part I'm going to work on. Next, I'm going to make the beak. That's going to be a little nose for our bird. So we're going to cut that using some foam and using some paper. So if you're okay with doing a little bit more measuring, I'm going to help you make this triangle. So if you start at the 0 on your ruler and you measure from the corner, we're going to go to 1, 2, 3 inches and put a little dash. Then I'm going to turn my ruler the other direction, make it at 0, 1, 2, 3 inches, and put a little dash. And then I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to connect those 2 dashes together and I'm going to make a triangle right there in the corner of my paper. I'm going to do the exact same thing on my piece of foam. So I'm going to measure across 1, 2, 3 inches and put a dash. I'm going to measure going down, starting at 0, 1, 2, 3 inches and put a dash. And then I'm going to connect those 2 dots together using my ruler and mark it with my pencil. So that now that I have both of these triangles, one of them on cardstock and one of them on foam, I'm going to cut both of these out. There's one, and here's another one. And the foam is sticky back foam, so it's like a big giant sticker. So I'm gonna peel off the sticker of my orange foam, and I'm gonna put this triangle onto this triangle. And there's a fancy math word for that called congruent triangles. When 2 triangles are exactly the same size, they are called congruent. I'm going to take this part right here that has the point up top with the other 2 points coming down, and I'm going to fold it in half, and that's how I'm going to make the beak shape. So now that I folded it in half, I'm going to bring my mask back down, and I'm going to keep that pointy part towards the unicorn's horn, and then I'm going to have the rest of the beak kind of come around the nose, and that's going to make my beak. So now I'm going to take a little bit of glue, and we might want to do this at the end. I'm going to go ahead and do it now so I know where to go, but we'll probably come back like we did with the lion and add some more glue at the end because it might wiggle around a little bit while we're still kind of working on the decorations. So here's where the point of the nose is going to go. I'm going to put a little bit of glue in there. Then I'm going to hold this down and kind of smush it into the little cheeks of the bird. And the glue will dry clear, so it's okay that it looks white right now. And we'll give ourselves a pretty cool looking beak. And when you wear this, then you're gonna have a beak too, which is gonna be fun. All right, so we'll do our best to hold that down, and then we are gonna kind of decorate more of the bird. So I wanna make some cute little cheeks. On my yellow bird that I have up here, I made pink cheeks. So you can pick a different color, or you can use the same pink color. It's up to you. We're probably gonna need to come back and hold that down a little bit more. But when you're making your pink cheeks, we can just make like little circles or make little round cutouts. So I'm gonna cut out something kind of round. That looks pretty good. And then if I want the cheeks to be the same, I can kind of lay it on top of the foam and cut around it so that they both are kind of the same shape. You could also trace it with your pencil if you want to make them exactly the same, and then cut those out in order to have those cute little cheeks. Putting that back down. All right. Now these are stickers, so I can peel off the back. Boop. Cute. And peel off the back over here. Boop. And this already looks like a very fun and festive bird for sure. So I like the way that that is looking. Then I can add some extra colors with my paints. So let's see. I'm going to put this one down here so we can kind of see the decorations. So it looks like we have some dots on our cheeks. It looks like we have some dots around the eyes. We have some little things that almost look like eyelashes. So we can keep working on all of those. Let's see. I have this really pretty blue. I have this yellow. And I even have this white. I think all of those could be fun to play with. I cleaned my brushes from the last time I was using them. So let me put the glue cap back on so I don't dry out my glue. Now I'm ready to kind of make some little dots here and there. I think I'm gonna take the red too, and I'm gonna put some red dots on the cheeks like the yellow bird. So here's my red paint. And I'm gonna dip my brush into the red paint, and I'm gonna do a couple dots on the cheek. Excellent. Cute. And while I have my red paint out, I might make a couple more dots, maybe kind of up the nose like that one. There we go. If you want to, you can kind of follow these eyelashes. And I can paint over top of those. Great. Then I'm gonna switch colors. And I think next I'm gonna make some lines and some dots using my white. So I'm gonna open up my white paint and I'm gonna make some lines. 1, 2, 3. And I'm gonna make some lines over here. 1, 2, 3. And maybe I want to add one dot here, one dot here, one dot here, one dot here. Then I'm going to switch my colors, and I'm going to use some of this blue paint. I'm going to open up this blue paint, and I'm going to do a dot here, and I'm going to do a dot here, and maybe a dot here underneath the eye, and here underneath the eye. Then I'm going to use my yellow. So I'm cleaning out my paintbrush. I'm going to open up the yellow. And with my yellow, I'm going to try and do a little zigzag. So I go up, down, up, down. And it's kind of like face painting, but we're face painting on a bird mask, which is really fun. I'm going to tilt this in this direction so I can do my up, down over here. So I go up, and then I go down, and then I go up, and then I go down. Excellent. Looking good. I think I'm going to do a little dot, dot, dot down here. And I'm going to do a little dot, dot, dot down here. And I think this is looking really good. So I'm good with all my decorations. And the last step to really transform this unicorn into a bird is going to be the feathers. So now is the time for all the beautiful feathers. So when you lay out your feathers, they are going to be a little messy, so please be careful and do this over a piece of paper so that you don't get things everywhere. And then I'm going to be putting glue on the mask, but I don't want to get glue next to my big pile of feathers because I don't want all of these to get sticky towards each other, and I don't want to mess them up. So I want to leave all of these dry and make sure that they don't get glue on them. And then on the actual mask is where I'm going to have the glue. All right, let's see. I'm going to start with the unicorn horn, and we're going to transform this unicorn horn into our bird. So I'm going to lay down some different feathers and using different glue. Since I'm going to lay it this way, I'm going to put kind of a puddle of glue. There we go. Then I'm going to stick some other feathers underneath there and stick some other feathers up top. And we can always come back and fill in any spaces that you might see. So this is just like our first layer of feathers. So far, this is looking pretty good. I'm going to move some of my pile to the side so that it doesn't get mixed up with my glue. Woo! All right, here we go. Let's keep going. I'm going to add some more feathers to where the ears are. So I'm going to put some glue over top of the ears. And stick some feathers coming out that direction. And some little feathers too. And another one over here. I'm going to add some more glue to the other side. Might need to get out my next glue. There we go. Add some glue over here. Add some more feathers. Here's a cute black one. That's fun. Big green one. And I'm making the feathers go in lots of different directions. This is really the fun part, adding all these feathers, for sure. Here's another really long one to go out this way. I'm going to put some glue over top of where the hair used to be for the unicorn. I'm gonna stick some feathers there too. Looking pretty good. Check out that one. Give him a little swoopy. I like that. I add some glue down here so that I can maybe do a couple more. Here's a little red one to give us some more color right there. Here's a little cute green one. I'm gonna put some more glue over here, kind of where an eyebrow might be. Here's a big long blue one that's gonna fill in some space up here. And here's another black one. That looks pretty cool. Gonna add a little bit more glue on this side. And I'm kind of feeling yellow. So here's a yellow one. And maybe a little bit more down the nose on this side. And here is like a red. That looks pretty good. And maybe another little one if I can find one here. I think I saw a cute little blue feather. There we go. And take a look at that. It doesn't look like a unicorn anymore, does it? So now we've made a really cool bird mask. So maybe your bird is yellow or maybe your bird is green, but I hope that you made a bird mask that you really like. And remember that we put that elastic piece off to the side. And now we're gonna take that elastic piece and we're gonna stick it through. So I'm gonna put the metal piece through the hole over here. And I'm going to put the metal piece through the hole over here. And voila, you're ready. You have a bird mask. So definitely let all the feathers dry, let all that glue dry so it can grab all your feathers. Feel free to add other decorations if you want to, or if you want to add a couple more feathers here and there. I think I might add one more feather right here because I don't want it to have a little bald spot right there. So I'm gonna give this poor guy one more feather over here. Let's see. I think it's going to be yellow. Perfect. And there we have our bird and we have our lion. And I really hope you enjoyed this class and make sure you come back and do all of the other Camp Creatology crafts. See you soon.